Good morning. We'll call the May 19th Bruce County Highways meeting to order. And I'd like to remind everyone it's our own responsibility to disclose any pecuniary interest that you may have on any of the items on today's agenda. Hearing none at this time, we'll move on to the first action item, which is the unpaved road maintenance. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item has to do with our operational component of maintaining our one section of unpaved road, being a gravel road, being the West Road. We, in 2016, had identified $20,000 to apply resurface gravel on it. It is apparent that it requires substantially more. So to get to the crux to the issue, Mr. Chairman, it would be desirable to allocate more funds into that program, into that account, in the amount of $30,000, which would make for a total of $50,000 application of gravel. And in addition to transferring $30,000 from the tax stabilization reserve, we wish to acknowledge that Northern Bruce Peninsula had tendered for surface gravel, and their price was in the amount of about a little under $9, and we ask that we can extend that contract and apply that gravel at that price to the West Road.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation. The recommendation reads that the transfer of $30,000 from the tax stabilization reserve to the unpaved roads program for the application of maintenance gravel on the West Road be approved, and the county enter an agreement based on the recent Northern Bruce Peninsula maintenance gravel tender with Harold Sutherland Limited for the supply and application of approximately 5,000 ton of granular A road maintenance gravel on the West Road. We can have some discussion if we get a mover and a seconder. Moved by Ann, seconded by Mitch. Any discussion on the recommendation? All those in favor of the recommendation? That's carried. Thank you, Diane. Next item is paved road capital, Bruce Road, section 40C and 40E.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it worthwhile to take a look at the extent of the work on County Road 40. Again, it's a nice large plan. And naturally, north is up. County Road 3 is right here. Paisley would be right about here. North on Road 3, Port Elgin probably right there. Highway 21 right down through here. A small community called Dobbington would be about here. So we're hoping to do spot improvements and pave between the 20th Side Road and Eldersley to County Road 3, and then go across the Saugeen River, Turner's Bridge, and start around Side Road 29 of Saugeen and go to Highway 21. So two road sections, well, kind of two road sections, and within it are a bunch of spot improvements. We have a spot improvement on the hill near Side Road 15. We've got a spot improvement to replace a big pipe just east of County Road 3. And then west of County Road 3, spot improvement on the 29th Side Road as we improve that side road, the visibility at that side road, and we improve the visibility of the side road between lots 13 and 14 in Saugeen. And we had attached to the report a variety of plans and profiles, but we won't go through that pain of going through them individually unless anyone has any questions, and we would love to go through them individually. But in the absence of that interest, I think we'll go back to the crux of the issue, which is our need to acquire some road widening. In looking at the plan, again, the county built from County Road 3 westerly in the 70s, and there were some spots in there that we didn't acquire land. And at the time we built it, we did it at sort of a modest geometric standard that requires a little bit of attention in the two spots we've identified, one near the pipe, just east of County Road 3, and one near the 15th Side Road. So there are some spots in here that we had never acquired for one reason or another, and we'd like to acquire them at this time. In some cases there was a reference plan, in other cases there was not. So we need to do a reference plan and the legal work, land purchase agreement, et cetera. So when it comes to, oh, thank you, Sherry. When it comes to west of County Road 3, this is a road we assumed in 2005, and most of it had widening on it. There's a number of spots where we did not have widening, and we wish to acquire them at that time. So the purpose of the report today is to acknowledge that we have approached landowners. We haven't fixed a land purchase agreement value, which we hope to do today. You see in the report that we've had a variety of land values in the past in this area. About 4 or 5 years ago, we purchased land in this area at fair market value of the time of about $4,200. And we recommend to you at this time that for the purposes of purchasing road widening this year, that we offer people $6,000 an acre. We have done some footwork to talk to most of the large owners, and their understanding of the rationale of where we are and the recommendation we're making today. So we feel that we would be successful if we approach the landowners for probably half a dozen pieces of land, maybe 7, at a rate of $6,000 per acre. So the purpose of today's meeting, or today's report, is to acknowledge that value and to have that land purchase policy reflected that we issue to the landowners and then subsequently move to land purchase and OLS and legal, et cetera.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation then. That the fair market value for the purchase of road widening on Bruce Road 40 between Ellerslie Side Road 20 and Highway 21 of $6,000 per acre be approved. Moved by Milt, second by Ann. Any discussion on the motion? Ann?
So I was just wondering, like you only need, like when it's $6,000 per acre, I'm thinking you only need like a very small fraction, do you, most of the time?
Excellent point. I think over here somewhere there's an 80-rod farm would be the biggest one that we didn't acquire years ago for some reason. There's a bunch of land down at the bottom just east of County Road 3 where we have to put a much bigger, a longer pipe in. And we're just buying 1/10 of an acre either side there. So again, the small holding that we acquire is still driven by the $6,000 per acre. Then it gets multiplied up or down based on small holdings as reflected in the policy. And there's a couple of farms out in Saugeen Township that were not acquired. And we hope to, I think there's one major parcel that we didn't acquire, another 80-rod frontage. And there's a couple of 40-rod frontages there that weren't acquired too, but they've all changed hands since the 70s. And yes, the names may ring a bell, but they weren't acquired in the 70s.
Any other questions on the motion? Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Which takes us to action item C, equipment.
Mr. Chairman, the foremen have tried placing a small sander unit in the back of pickup trucks. And the unit's called a V-Pro SP3000, and it holds about 1,000 pounds of material, and it allows our foreman to spread on bridge decks and potentially icy spots when he's doing patrol. And we had a lot of success doing this in the last year or so with the one unit that we had purchased, and we do acknowledge that some of our neighbors use these as well. It's our hope to, we hope to use $18,000 from our capital equipment fund. And that's because it was a miscellaneous item that we now require acknowledgement of what we're using the money for. And I'm looking at Mrs. Dillon for a little bit of assistance here.
With the purchase of, we had budgeted $40,000 for a new chipper. We ended up buying a used chipper, and there's now surplus funds in that equipment other account. So we'd just like to apply those funds to the purchase of these sanders.
I'll read the recommendation. The recommendation is that the purchase of 3 sanders for the approximate total value of $18,000 be funded from the capital equipment fund. Moved by Dave, second by Robert. Any discussion on the motion? Mitchell?
Brian, will these, when we put these on and we go sand, will this be GPS so we know that for records, like, do we have those units in our pickups and our patrol trucks?
I believe we do. I think our tandems all have the GPS. And I think the patrol trucks do, but I'm not sure if the trucks that may have these may. But it's a good question. We could probably, Mrs. Dillon, might you know the answer to this?
The county is currently looking at an AVL, a new AVL system. I'm not sure if these sanders will be able to connect with those, but it's something we can definitely inquire about. I don't think at this time we would know the answer to it, but it's definitely something that we can make the inquiry. The patrol trucks do have, like when we had our old AVL, they would have it so we were able to tell where they were on the roads as far as, you know, when did they patrol. But as far as to measure the material that these sanders might be putting down and when they put it down, I'd have to look into that with the new AVL.
Any other questions or comments on the recommendation? Okay, all in favor of the recommendation then? Those opposed of any? Motion's carried. Thank you. So I think that takes us to action item D, tender summary.
Mr. Chairman, we've identified a variety of tenders that contracts that we wish to be signed, some of which that are over on your right-hand column, and some other quotations or tenders that have been undertaken during the last time we provided a report. Naturally, there's the Paisley shed that we had discussed at the last meeting, and then the last item on the list on the second page, 1622, is paving in Glamis and in the Paisley shed. And I do acknowledge that the time frame to complete the shed and have it paved and then receive the sand is fairly tight in August, early September. And that was our comment on that report, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I see. You'll get it done, Brian. You work best under pressure, I think. The recommendation is that the warden and clerk be authorized to sign the following tender contracts as per section 13.2.13 of the County of Bruce Purchase and Procurement Policy. And it's 16.12 is the construction of the Paisley Sand Shed, and 16-22 is the hot mix Glamis and Paisley Sand Shed. Have a mover for the motion, moved by Mitch, second by Ann. Any discussion on the motion? Mike?
Just the other tender, what is the difference in the price for the sand? Is that just trucking delivery? There's a pretty significant difference from $7.80 cents a ton to $11.87 a ton. Winter sand. It's in the sheet there, Brian.
Yes.
I just say that. Ton.
Yes, it is.
Well, it'll probably be delivery costs then.
We're hesitating just a little bit because is this got a pug mill on it too? And then the salt gets, we pay for the salt and the salt goes in the pug mill with the sand and it goes up in the dome. So there's a variety of things that have to happen. We do know there's a variety of costs on sand, and depends if it's manufactured or not, or if they've got nice, veins in the pit. So sometimes it doesn't have to be manufactured. Like sometimes it's a natural resource that doesn't need any more processing than loading and trucking and putting up. But I could look into that in more detail if you wish.
No, thanks, that's fine.
Yes.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor of the recommendation? That's carried, thank you. So, information items, Brian. A, highway traffic operation, roadside maintenance, operational budget, municipal drains.
It would appear, Mr. Chairman, that the actions of the municipalities to embrace municipal drains have an impact on the department because naturally we have to pay for a component when it's on a county road. And unknown to us at budget time was quite a few major drains, and generally they're in the south, as you saw on page 2 of the report. This was an acknowledgement that these costs are there, We're uncertain if they'll materialize. I think we're all aware that municipal drains require a variety of approvals, some of which happen quickly and some of which never happen. And there's the uncertainty about the landowner component as well. The dynamics of the Municipal Drainage Act. So we put this to you, Mr. Chairman, so you're aware that we're aware, and that we'll know more at the coming in the fall, knowing when the season has ended for the work, what the actual cost for 16 will be. And we've even made the prognostication that there may be a little bit of extra funds in another programmatic element, that we may wish to shift those funds from an underspent program into an overspent program which has very little department control.
Does anyone have any comments on that information item? Ann?
So would it be helpful, like, I'm just thinking of our municipality, if you're notified on the drain, like, are you notified on the whole drain process, or do you just find out after?
No, we're well notified. We become a landowner, and we're invited to all the meetings. So yes, we're right up there in the process, as is any other landowner, but they just happen quickly. So a petition goes out, the interest is there, and an engineer may have an estimate fairly quickly. And it's when we get that estimate that we realize the value. And, again, depending on the budget time, when we start to budget, there's some time between starting to budget and when these things happen. So if they get late fall, they happen. And it was just recently, within a month, that we've got these numbers in. So then they mature over the winter, and then the engineer has his report, and we get our cost share.
Mitchell?
We've had 3 drainage applications come before us here in Kinloss just in the last year, and one was for 1.1 million, another one for 500, and another one for 500. And these rain events are washing, and the one in the Royal Oak is causing us a lot of consternation. But we're on the hook for almost $140,000 here in Kinloss's portion of that drain. So as these rain events come more and more, there's just a lot of erosion in the land, and we're going to see more of them.
If I can offer, our days down in Middlesex some years ago, as I recall that the annual county budget for municipal drain repairs was in excess of $1 million. That was repairs, that wasn't the capital side. And this is the capital side. And again, that's flatter land, it's more intense. But I would imagine we're going to see more of it as we move into more cash cropping.
Any other questions or comments on this information item? Hearing none, we'll move on to information item B, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund and the 2016 federal gas tax.
Mr. Chairman, we provide a list of the projects for 2016. We note that the total contribution from the federal government is a little bit less than $2 million. We do know, and we'll see in just a moment, that the paved road program in the department is about $5 million, including this gas tax. So between the federal gas tax and the provincial gas tax, or the provincial, there's a slightly different name, the OCIF fund from the province, it's in excess of $2 million, and it's 40% of our program. So it's huge for the department. That was the major comment, unless anyone wishes to acknowledge the individual projects. Mind you, I think the next report touches base on a lot of the projects.
Anyone have any comments on item B? And then Brian, we'll move on to item C, paved road capital budget changes. We'll move on to item C, paved road capital budget changes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We acknowledge that programmatic budgeting has regard for minor shifting of funds within projects within the program. So I think the third page of this report had the spreadsheet on paved roads capital. And you can see down under the 2016 estimate, the value of the $5 million down the bottom. That's exactly what's in your original budget. So what this report does is it acknowledges there's been some changes of the status of year-end revenues from 15 that went into 2016 projects, and there's been some gentle changes in estimated costs of 2016 projects. But by the time we're done, is the number on the net effect on county levy remains the same. If you recall that during the fall, in order to meet council's budget desires, there were some funds adjusted from our capital budget, I think in the tune of about $470,000. And it has taken some time for the department to rationalize where those funds would come from. And generally, they come from eliminating an allocation of $400,000 to our account for surface-treated roads. So our surface-treated road program is based on roads that road system. So we had originally in the budget identified that we would have a program of $400,000 for that road, a portion of Road 6, a portion of Road 14, and a lot of Road 9. And in talking to the foreman, we didn't have any apparent needs this year in 2016 within those road sections. So that's where we're comforted that we could actually defer that $400,000, use it elsewhere in 16, and then reconsider developing the fund or reserve in 2017 for that group of roads. We have made one or two spot repairs on those road sections from a different operational budget line, not a capital line. But the major change that you'll see in that long list is the elimination of that $400,000 that originally went to a thin road program. It was the bulk of the savings that we required of that $470,000. And Mr. Chairman, we, if you wish, with a lot of time, we could go through the jobs that the department wishes to do in 2016. If there's any questions, and I've got a variety of maps there that we can identify them. We leave that to committee's direction.
I think it is valuable to take a few moments and look at your you sound surprised, Brian.
No, I'm thrilled.
Take it away.
Super. Well, maybe if I could, I'll use the pointer, which I haven't been able to do. Let's start over in Kincardine. On County Road 23, we have $70,000 identified to assist the trail building along County Road 23. Kincardine made application to provincial fund, and we're unsuccessful, so the project's now on hold. It's moving forward in design, but it's on hold. So our $70,000 will go in reserve to be available upon such time as the project can move forward.
Excuse me, Brian, we're scrambling to find other ways to finance it. We really want to move that project forward, but we just need a bit of time to figure it out. We were very disappointed. We made it through the first round, and we've inquired. We looked at the second round applications, and you know, some of the ones that were received, we questioned where we fell down, and so we got a reply, and you know, our Trails Committee is very passionate, so they sent back a rebuttal of sorts, and we haven't heard back yet. So anyway, we really are dedicated to that, and again, I thank the county for all their support. We still hope to move it forward.
If I can offer, we've got a utility wanting to go up that section of road right now. Gary has emailed yesterday and this morning again about asking for a location. And of course, we're trying to put them on the east side. We recognize there's a ton of telephone on the west side, and we recognize there may be a big gas line that has to be fit in there somewhere. So there's a whole bunch of work being organized for that small county investment of $70,000, which is to extend the shoulder out on the west side. But anyways, we're working together, and we've sent communications to the new public works manager in Kincardine on that matter. Super. County Road 86, there's a large pipe crossing the road that we will replace late this year. It's near the 18-mile River Bridge. It's over to just to the west of it. In Lucknow, some work that we've deferred this year into next year. We're hoping to do the spot improvements. There's some pipes we want to replace, some catch basins we want to replace, some curb repairs in preparation in the hard downtown, so we can mill and pave that next year, in addition to a small urban job at the west limit. So that work, minor stuff in 16, major stuff, and completion in 17. County Road 6 East, from Ambleside towards the landfill site, we were there half an hour ago, actually, for that matter. And paving probably in 6 weeks. A number of spot improvements to do, a number of comments with landowners to get that project finalized, and it's coming along nicely. Apply the granular A starting, I think, next week, and for grading 2 or 3 weeks, and then the application of hot mix. In Mildmay, we hope to replace a drainage system west of the lights, if there is a west in Mildmay, west of the lights on Absalom Street, and pave that, but we're not doing that until after shutdown, starting in August. And naturally, we have the Demerton Road. We always have that on the plan. In this particular case, it's preparatory work for future preparatory work. Glamis, naturally, we're just doing, I think we're putting on topsoil right now and trimming that up, and the hot mixture is coming in, I think, in about 4 weeks to apply the top lift of hot mix in Glamis. Is County Road 25. We were at a public meeting last night, actually, moving that project ahead, and the municipality, their acting director, and the consulting engineer and I are very excited after the public meeting about moving forward on the Road 25, Road 33 realignment and drainage issue. And in the north, I believe we've got the West Road. And we're happy to say that that project is moving ahead. We had hoped that we'd have some public meetings in June. Last fall we had hoped we'd have the public meetings in June. I'm sensing that the public meetings may happen probably in August again this year. We just haven't quite got our feet underneath us as we get sort of the rest of our work organized this year to be in a position to identify the alternatives on the West Road. But we're still talking to people and getting things organized, moving ahead with our Aboriginal partners, so we are moving ahead. So that was construction, Mr. Chairman. When it comes to hot mix resurfacing, I think we've talked about some of these, but I'd like to talk about others. Lucknow was a combination of construction and resurfacing, we mentioned that. In South Bruce is hoping to do some work in Belmore, doing preparatory work this year. We've got some funds in for this year, and they're doing the work, contracting work out in next year. So we're partnering with South Bruce on that. County Road 4, Walkerton to Hanover, we're doing some preparatory work on that, some pre-engineering work. I spoke earlier of County Road 40. This is side road 20 to County Road 3, and this is just the other side of Turner's Bridge over the Saugeen River to Highway 21. And County Road 33, this is an application of a 1-inch pad, 25 millimeters of hot mix on County Road 33 from Bruce Power to just south of Port Elgin to recognize that we can't do anything else with the road in the 5 to 10 year time frame. So it's our opinion that in 5 to 10 years, that road will be reconstructed. There is the potential that some of that, like one of the options, is to reconstruct the bottom end of that road on the old rail line that the ATP committee now have in order to get rid of some of those jogs. So that's one alternative, and then the possibility of the local municipality owning the existing road is a very local, minorly used road that would benefit by the HL2 pad that we're about to do. And then once we get up to the 10th of Bruce, we go back onto the existing alignment, and it's all 66 feet. And the vision could be that we would have a paved shoulder application along that 20 kilometers of County Road 33, and that would interconnect with some of the municipal and county initiatives that you see to the south. Interconnect the Kincardine initiatives as well as the initiatives that have been made up along the shoreline through County Road 13 in southern Bruce Peninsula to all of it. Yeah, sorry.
I think that's a wonderful idea to get rid of some of those jogs. If you're traveling that portion when Bruce Power is going out, or whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, it would be And it might alleviate some of the congestion on Highway 21 as well. And I like your trails idea. I think,
Paved shoulders, perhaps?
yes.
Super.
Okay, well, that's great.
So this is just to sort of put that road in context. So we are making an investment this year to get us out to that 5 to 10 years, upon which we'll do something more permanent. And I think the last one, or the second last one, is County Road, the Alverny intersection, MTO's contribution towards their solution of the roundabout. And we had agreed many years ago to $50,000 from the two counties, 50 Bruce, 50 Gray, towards the engineering. We just have not received the bill yet. So it remains in reserve, and we bring it out each year to have it available if and when asked from MTO. And the final one that's not on the map is Wyerton. Is at the last committee meeting, we made a report that we're working with the town concerning the first two blocks of Frank Street off of Burford Street. And I think the plans are now maturing. I think the tender, the South Bruce Peninsula tender, goes out, I think, in about 6 weeks. And we're hoping to approach committee in June 9th with a recommendation that we pay the traditional county portion towards rehabilitation of the road once they put the sewer in. And consider the water main upgrade. Mr. Chairman, I think that is the program for 2016. We would entertain questions.
Any questions or comments of the program? Hearing none, thank you for that, Brian. So if there's nothing further, I think that brings us to the next meeting on June 23rd. And again, oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
That's okay, through you, Mr. Chair.
10:30 is take us to lunch.
I will be brief. I just wanted to build on the very eloquent words that County Engineer Brian had articulated in terms of the program budgeting. Staff next week is our second review of our initiatives, and to Brian's comment, we do have to get before you a requested change to our procurement bylaw. Right now, we're still operating under the old procurement bylaw, which is really, I think it's the right word, hamstringing the highways group, and it's really causing us a lot of difficulty, particularly when you think of what we were desirous of when we made the recommendation for the program budgeting. It was to remove a lot of the red tape, and that report this morning highlights that we haven't got quite where we need to get to remove that kind of stuff. So
Thank you for that. That's good news. Anything further? Hearing nothing, motion to adjourn, moved by Ann, second by Mike. All those in favor, we're adjourned.